Beautiful people. It's 12 o'clock on Tuesday, 12 o'clock Pacific on Tuesday, the 23rd of July, 2019. Happy Leo season, everybody. Oh my goodness gracious, what an interesting transition from Cancer season to Leo season. Let's see, it looks like your channels are read only, so you can't reply, says my Restream text chat thingy. Well, that sucks because I want to make sure that I can see the comments as they're coming through, and for some reason Restream doesn't want to play nice. But I see Luciana watching over at Periscope / Twitter, so maybe I'll just watch the comments coming in that way. I wonder if I'll be able to see those comments and also the Restream ones. Okay, the Restream ones are coming through. Okay, great. Great. Aaron says here over at Facebook. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So I haven't seen YouTube report in yet, but now it looks like Restream has connected and Laura is reporting from YouTube. So awesome. We're doing a multi-stream thing. Welcome. I'm Bonnie Gillespie. I frequently will go live and push to multiple locations simultaneously. Linda is saying, yay for the Leos. Is that you, baby? So here's what's great about Leo season. Topic today, why we fail. But first, we're going to do a little sidebar on the woo, because, you know, I love my woo. I love my woo. Leos are great at owning their greatness. Leos are fantastic at promotion and not in a way that feels icky or blowhardy. Leos are fantastic at owning the greatness of the things that they've created and sharing those things with the world in some really organic ways. Hi, Patricia. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, Anna. Good to see you. Wonderful. So one of the things that I love about Leo season is it helps everyone, even those of us who might be a little allergic to doing some of the self-promo stuff, feel a little more at home with the promotional process. And so it's a great time to test out letting people know that you've got something going on that you're excited about. Hi, Janet. I'm so glad you're here. It's a wonderful time to try out a new logline on people and see how they react to it. It's a wonderful time to share your toys because during Leo season, everybody's going to feel more brave at sharing their toys, which means you aren't going to stand out like someone who's getting it wrong, even if you're someone who typically doesn't like to self-promote. So keep that in mind as a little bit of cosmic juju for you here. And let me see what else I want to make sure that you're aware of. Today's a great day for cutting cords, astrologically. We are almost done with Mercury retrograde. Hang in there. We have one more week and day of Mercury retrograde. Hang in there. Double check everything, triple check everything, quadruple check everything. Anything that can be miscommunicated will. Any place where someone can get wires crossed, they're gonna. So make sure that you use lots of details in clarifying communication, especially about things regarding timing of where someone needs to be at a certain time. And don't start anything new. Spend this last week and a half, if you're into like being extra careful on the back end of a Mercury retrograde, to close up things. Clean out a closet. Do some decluttering. It is a great time to let a lot of that energy go. Hello, Bernard. So glad you're here. It's a wonderful time to revisit things and have a new perspective on them and maybe decide to close off some stuff once and for all. But it's a great time. This Mercury retrograde is always great about bringing people back into your life who haven't been around in ages. And then you're just like, oh my God, look at you back in my life. And you'll feel yourself wanting to go like check up on exes and things like that. So it's good energy for that. Do that. But just remember, in Leo season, everybody's going to be a little extra on the ego. So if you're one of the signs that gets your feelings hurt easily, be careful going forward with ego, because then if it doesn't go well, you could end up isolating and feeling that turn inward in a really negative way. And I'm talking you water signs like me, Cancer. Anyway, so that's it for your quick little overview of the woo as we finish up July here. We're going to be doing another Facebook Live on Friday the 2nd of August. If you want to go ahead and mark that on your calendar, it's going to be at 1:30 Pacific. But Facebook Live, Friday the 2nd, right here, week and a half from now. I don't have a topic yet. Let me know if there's something you're interested in. Today, we're going to talk about why we fail. Thank you for the feedback on the email, Sean. I appreciate that. Luciana, you're a Cancer too, watching over at Periscope. Yeah, This cancer season was a lot of extra emotion, a lot of sitting in the stew of it all. And hopefully everybody felt their feelings and let it all go, because that's kind of what this was all about. This July has been a lot about that. So this Bond Blast, got lots of feedback on it. I appreciate that. I wrote about why we fail. Why we fail. I have a corresponding blog post about this because I wrote it after traveling back and forth to Atlanta. And hi, Jerry, glad you're here. So happy you could join us. Kate, did I say hello to you? Hello, darling. Keith and I flew to Atlanta to be a part of the Atlanta Workshop Players drama camp and film school. They do, it's a private acting studio that's a nonprofit, and they do this amazing camp every summer that I was first a part of in 1985 as a student. And since then, I've come back every couple of years as either I was a camp counselor when I was in my early 20s. I've come back as a guest speaker. When they've brought groups out to LA, I've come in and led some casting director workshops and all sorts of Q&As and things like that. And so Keith and I both were there for this year's camp. I did the keynote speech on finding your true north, which landed really well. Everybody got like so much out of it. These are kids ages 8 to 18. And so to have a conversation with them about setting the true north at that age had massive impact. And I was really thrilled because there was a part of me that was like, I don't know how much kids of some of these younger ages are going to really resonate with your true north. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Erin will drop a link in the Facebook version of the comments to the YouTube video that I did from SMF May on finding your true north. And so she can find that and drop that in the links. Thank you, Erin. I appreciate you being here co-piloting for me over at the Facebook page. But setting your true north essentially is the kind of thing that allows you to know where you want to go with all the steps you want to take for the rest of your career. Like, there are certainly lots of things you can do to get to your true north, but there are a lot more things that you could do that don't get you to your true north. So it's really about getting clear on your no line and what you want to say yes to and why, and being purposeful and mindful about those choices. Hi, Ray. So glad you're joining us from Central Florida. On the flight to Atlanta, back from Atlanta, doesn't matter, one of the directions, I think to Atlanta, I watched this really great documentary called One Nation Under Stress by Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN documentary. Highly recommended. It's dense. It's got a lot of stuff in it that I was kind of like, okay, they threw in a little bit of a political agenda there that I don't think was necessary to explain the role of chronic stress in our lives as a contributor to early mortality. The mortality rate has, so let me make sure I word this correctly. The lifespan has actually decreased 3 years in a row. What I mean by that is the average lifespan has been increasing in modern cultures every year since World War II. And that lifespan increasing on average is because of things like medicine and inventions that are making our lives more convenient, making it easier for us to live longer, and things that keep us well longer. And for the first time in nearly 100 years, we are seeing a dip 3 years in a row of the life expectancy in modern culture. And the reason for that is because of chronic stress and the impact that it plays on our ability to live long lives, and more specifically, the impact that it has on what they're calling death by despair. This was a new phrase for me, and so, of course, being the nerd that I am, as soon as I hear it, I'm like, okay, gotta look up all the research on death by despair or death of despair. They're worded differently depending on if you're in the US or the UK. For some reason, we got to use a different word in the middle there. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It is essentially death related to the ways we cope with or don't cope with chronic stress. And I was just shocked at how much science there is behind the ways we treat ourselves and the ways we process stress and the ways our brains are wired to interpret stress and our quality of life. I already knew that. I know, of course, our quality of life is impacted by the way stress is metabolized in our systems, but that it's also contributing to how long we live. And for 3 years running, it's actually having an impact on us in a negative direction. And from 99 to 2015, there were more deaths of despair than there were deaths due to complications from AIDS. Shows that when you treat something, you can curtail its death rate. We don't treat chronic stress. We exacerbate it. We get people addicted to technology and always paying attention to what someone is tweeting or Facebooking or Instagramming. And I'm not blaming social media for chronic stress, but I'm saying it exacerbates chronic stress. We are not, as a culture, embracing things that help lower our stress hormones. We are instead embracing things that give us dopamine hits and that ramp up the cortisol and get us into these adrenaline rushes that are not sustainable. And then we stay in these states of panic or fear or stress long enough that we start to have our health deteriorate because of it. And so I was just fascinated by all of this, and of course wrote about it in the Bond Blast. And for those of you who didn't get the Bond Blast and have just happened upon this broadcast, if you go over to BonnieGillespie.com, I cross-posted the Bond Blast to my blog. So definitely, yes. Hello, Ray. I saw you watching from Facebook, and now you've jumped over to YouTube. That's great. Awesome. I love that. I love that we can do this cross-platform. It's very cool. Yay. Hi, Kate. A different Kate. Yes. Hi, Jerry. Okay, so hello. All the people piling in. I think maybe the comments just all loaded in at once right there. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. So take a look at the Bond Blast on BonnieGillespie.com or in your inbox if you're subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, sign up. I send emails about all sorts of interesting things, not always about show business. But this one in particular, I started thinking about how our brains are wired to resist as much as possible the stress that is not knowing what's going to happen in our lives. Because one of the greatest causes of stress is the unknown. Inconsistency is right up there with things that we fear, like speaking in public or the death of a loved one. Anything that is inconsistent creates fear in us in a stress response that we respond to in hormonal ways that are not sustainable. And so one of the ways that we as humans prevent ourselves from spending too much time in the unknown is we will cling to what is known. And what is known is something that we can control, which is failing at something, which is struggling with something. Like, we actually prefer, from a biological perspective, we actually prefer not reaching our goals that would push us beyond what is allowed of our pack, of our tribe, of our family. Because if we push too far beyond what is known for our tribe, we are outliers, and therefore we are more likely to be attacked by predators. We are seen as food by something else in terms of just an evolutionary perspective. So just from a primitive brain space, we will sabotage a lot of things that start coming to us in terms of success because the success is inconsistent. And so one of the reasons that I'm such a fan of doing work to make success feel safe early and to make success feel sustainable early and build a muscle for it to stick around is precisely so we don't self-sabotage and create situations of failure or low income or bad relationships or bad eating habits or what, I mean, you name it, whatever kind of activity that you partake in that you would label as self-sabotaging. It's different for everybody. The reason we stay in those spaces longer than we know is healthy to. If I'm thinking back to when I was a drinker, because I've been sober coming up on 3 years, when I was a drinker, I knew for a good couple of years before I stopped drinking that this was not sustainable. This was not healthy, that this was actually becoming a problem. And before that, I was like, I'm fine. And then there were a couple of years that I was like, I know what I'm doing is really cutting off my ability to reach the kinds of success that I want and the kinds of things that I know would be so fantastic in my life. Ray, 24 years sober, man. Thank you for your leadership. Wow, that's amazing. Well done. Congrats, sir. I know that for me, that behavior was sticking around longer than I knew it was healthy. And I asked myself, why would I continue to choose something that I knew I wasn't a fan of choosing, and I knew specifically was counterproductive to the kind of success that I wanted to invite into my life? And part of it is it feels easier to stay safe and small. There are a lot of other parts to it as well, but one of the major, just way we're wired brain-wise, evolutionarily, is it is easier to stay safe and small, and we get to do that when we choose something that prevents us from reaching our highest and best good. Highest and best good. How do you like that sentence? Our highest and best selves, our next tier selves. So when I take a look at how we choose a career like showbiz that is guaranteed to disappoint, guaranteed. Kate, 20 years, girl, bless your bones. Well done. Well done. Well done, sweetheart. Role modeling that lighthouse action. I love it. Oh my gosh. Y'all kick ass. Yes. Oh my goodness. Rex, good. I'm glad you're enjoying the conversation. It's a tough one to have because there are so many moving parts to it. So I'm taking it a little surface by trying to oversimplify it, but in oversimplifying it, I'm hoping it's a conversation that we can start having, and then we can continue to have it at a deeper level, obviously, as we unpack some of the layers. But just from a primary level of why we choose a career like showbiz can come from we choose a career in which we know we are going to be disappointed. We choose a career in which it is socially acceptable to fail. It is expected to be rejected. It is anticipated that it will be hard. And then we choose this career, but the evolved brain, the executive function, is over here going, I know I can have it all. I know there's more. I know success is possible. And so we're kind of fighting against ourselves in a very primal versus non-primal sense. We have the evolved part of our brain that's saying, I want it all. I want success. I know it's possible. This is what I dream for myself. This is why I've come here, is to achieve these things. And I know that it's possible. And then we've got this base primal brain that is saying, it's not safe. You need to stick with what you chose, which is to fail, to struggle, to wonder where the money's going to come from, all of that. And there's something that feels really safe and secure about the consistency with which we struggle. And so part of my work for myself, and what I challenge you to try and do, and then I'll open it up for any kind of questions that y'all have about this, or anything else, is I try to say, how can I make feeling successful feel safe, first of all? And my first step with that is I upgrade my peer group. I make sure, hi Jennifer, glad you made it. I make sure that I am surrounded by people who also are high achievers and getting things done. And let's go back to the sobriety of it. In my decision to declare I am going to stop drinking, I made a list of sober role models. People that I knew are sober, knew at the time are sober still, but at the time I wrote the list, I knew that these were people that represent role models for it can be done, and it can be done well, and it can be done with integrity, and it can be done with fun. That it didn't mean that I was going to have to completely change my lifestyle or my personality. It just meant that there would be the absence of vodka. Okay, like what would that be like? And so writing this list of a peer group that I knew I wanted to now upgrade to was my very first step. And so similarly with money mindset, when I knew I wanted to crack through a particular ceiling on my earnings, I made a list of people who are my millionaire role models, and made a list of people who I know, who are friends, people that I could connect with and talk to and have powwows with about money mindset or about anything else, because we don't just have to be talking about sobriety with sober friends or money mindset with rich friends. My point is surrounding yourself with people who are role modeling that it can be done makes it so that you feel safer exploring places that part of your brain feels are unsafe. And especially if you came from a poor family, or if you have always been labeled in your family as the struggling artist, or the can't do anything right, the joke of the family. I was so ridiculed for my choices to pick up and move to LA, not at all supported in making this transition in my life to leave the safety of Atlanta and grad school and what was supposed to be a much safer existence and more predictable trajectory through life, which I would never have been able to sustain, because that wasn't my path. It wasn't at all what I was interested in. But when you're made to feel like you are bad or wrong somehow for making the decisions that you make in life, and then you start to find people who go, no, what you did is actually really cool and very groundbreaking, and I applaud you. You start to then change what's normal. You change the balance in your brain from the stuff that says, I need to stay safe and small, I need to fail, I need to struggle, I need to be who my family labeled me to be, and you shift it to, I'm showing them what's possible. All of this is absolutely doable. I don't have to fail. I can absolutely rewrite the model. But it takes work, and it takes mindfulness, and it takes checking in with that part of your brain that wants to run back to the consistency of anything known, and let it know that it's safe even when success is inconsistent. And we have to find ways to celebrate even the long stretches that might happen between big bookings or big accomplishments, so that we feel okay staying at that tier. Otherwise, all we'll ever do is bump up a tier and then bounce back out. How many times has that either happened to you or someone that you know, that you've observed that they've had that flash of success that you're like, oh, look, now they're finally going to get somewhere, and then, or yourself, I'm finally going to get somewhere, and then right back down to where you were before, financially, or in terms of bookings or momentum or love life or health or anywhere else. We all know this pattern, and we know this pattern because it's what's safe. So in trying to reduce the stress levels, we cling to what is consistent. The uncertainty is the magic, says Becky, the tingle. I love it that you can find magic in the uncertainty, and that it is a tingle in a good way. Becky says a lot for your headspace and how healthy you are when it comes to pushing toward success rather than clinging to failure because it's safer. So kudos to you. Well done. I love that. I love that. And then obviously from a woo-woo perspective, you have to make room for the magic. We always talk about the elements of the signs. You've got, what do we start with? We've got water signs, air signs, earth signs, and fire signs. And fire sign is the magic. And you have to have all four of those elements brought into everything that you do. Otherwise, you can't have a balanced experience. And so I am so glad that you make room for the magic. Becky, that's fantastic. Do y'all have any questions, any thoughts, any examples where this has happened to you? Do share, please. I would love to know how I can support you in building the muscle toward fighting that failure and forgiving yourself for buying into it. Excuse me, if you have, or if you find yourself doing so. Forgive yourself is a big message. And I say that because for August, expansive capacity for alumni, you can still apply. Go to expansivecapacity.com. I don't think I have the URL in my lower thirds. I don't. But if you go to expansivecapacity.com, Erin can put the link in Facebook comments. You can go over to that application and apply to join us for the month of August if you'd like. We are working on your relationship with forgiveness, and I'm not looking forward to this as a topic because self-forgiveness is so hard. I can forgive others. Make room for magic was my mantra the year I decided to move to LA. Erin, I love that. I don't think I knew that. That's so cool. Erin, awesome. Jennifer says, I have all the water signs in my chart. Well, Jennifer, that's good because it means you're really great at dreaming up awesome ideas. And you need to find out what you have a deficiency in and make sure that you invite that in with other people in your life, collaborators, your agent, whatever, so that you can balance out not just dreaming up the things, but actually seeing them all the way through to manifestation. Ray says, I didn't start the acting business until after retirement. Hang on, it popped off my screen. 10 years ago. This is a comment over at YouTube for those who are watching anywhere else and wondering, where is she seeing this? Training, student films, finally at age 75. Got a large co-star role in a Hallmark film early this year. Ray, fucking awesome. You know, well done, man. I love that. And talk about longevity, right? You still have decades ahead of you in show business. And you booked that large co-star role in a Hallmark film. Who knows where you're going to go next? Amazing. Jennifer, you have no fire? I have no fire. Yeah. I have like no fire in my chart. Like scarce fire. So same. That means I have to surround myself with people who have fire in their chart, because otherwise I forget to leave room for magic in my work. Fascinating, right? Because here I am all about the woo-woo, but I often neglect leaving room for the magic in my work. And I have tons of water, tons of air. I have so many air signs. Holy crap. I have so many air signs in my chart, which is why I love to talk. Air signs love to talk it out, talk it out, talk it out, talk it out. Plan it, chat about it, get feedback. Oh, I know, it's crazy. Linda says, shutting out the noise of those who support you, support, put in quotation marks. It's almost like they want to see the fail to make themselves feel better. Linda, I'm just taking a breath for you on that. Spent the last week clearing inside and around me. A lot of self-care. Linda, good for you on the self-care. I'm so glad that you invested some of the Mercury retrograde season in that. That's so vitally important. But I want to talk a little bit about that shutting out the noise of those who are supporters, but who actually want you to fail. And you're right. It's not that they want you to fail. It's that they want their failure normalized. And the way their failure is normalized is by anyone else also failing. And when we succeed, we actually remind them that they didn't. And that's why I try to succeed in a way that is very transparent. I share all about my journey. I let y'all in. If you're on the Bond Blast, you know y'all got an email last week where I killed off a program because it wasn't populating. And we always, when we create a new program, we set a kill number. And if we don't reach above the kill number, it's like having a no line. If we don't reach the kill number, we kill the product. And while that is terrifying from oh God, now we got to give refunds and we got, the brand erosion of we told the world we had this program and now we don't. And oh God, what are people thinking of us that we couldn't even populate this little program, whatever. All of that, I would rather share that with y'all than hide what success really looks like, because I am a ridiculously, even though I can't say the word, I'm a ridiculously successful human being, and we still have failure. And so normalizing that even successful people have failure and it looks like this, hopefully makes it so that I am, by leadership, showing others it is safe to be successful, and you're still going to have to deal with some failure from time to time. If instead I go, nope, it's all success, it's all sunshine and roses and bajillion D dollars and, hanging out with Richard Branson on his private island or whatever, first of all, I'm lying my ass off, and the people who talk like that is all their life is, are lying their asses off. Sorry to pull back the curtain on it, but not sorry. But also it then creates an us versus them situation in terms of hierarchy of success. And that's part of why people who aren't successful in life stay in a not successful place, because there is that gap. There's this massive disparity between those who succeed and those who don't. And I don't think we need that massive gap. I think all we have to do is share a little bit more about what it takes. The problem is most people don't want to do the work. Because what it takes is being really honest with yourself about who you are and what your needs are and when you need to have your needs met a certain kind of way. And nobody really wants to do that much introspection. I'm building the program right now for the Enoughness project. And as we're talking, this is the first non-actor offering that I've ever created. So of course I'm dealing with a lot of upper limit problems and a lot of new and scared and all that kind of stuff. And y'all, if you've been following me for a minute, have been on that journey, because I've been writing about it quite a bit. You can go over to BonnieGillespie.com and read my blogs if you are new to this world and are like, "Ooh, I'm curious, tell me more." Go there. But one of the things in looking at all of this is we need to make it clear that it's safe to succeed and that there's work involved. And part of the problem is nobody wants to do the actual work that's involved, which is inner work. And so I'm trying to figure out how I need to explain the work from a tactile position, from a practical, pragmatic position. Okay, now the hair is too much. I just came from Pilates, and I'm like, I went with wet hair, and so now it's very Leo season hair. I'll tell you that. Okay, much better now. Quit playing with my fucking hair, because I'm just driving myself nuts in the monitor. The work we're having to do is layer in, like, what is the pragmatic, practical, tactic-like stuff that is going to be a part of this Enoughness course, so that it makes sense to people. Because if we say, oh, we're going to guide you through some deep inner work, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to show up for that. I mean, myself included. And I'm happy to go deep, go inward. I've spent the last 19 freaking months doing it with my mind-body healing journey. And even before that, if we, count going sober and deciding to really start looking at what makes me tick and what I value. I think that doing inner work is so vitally important to our success and to sustaining success. The problem is it is work, and it doesn't have outer side effects as fast as folks might want it to. But the side effects that it does have in the long term are phenomenal. So hopefully you will feel guided through that if that's calling you. Patricia says over at YouTube, I was more fearless when younger, and I perceived fewer obstacles. Now that I'm older, the risk-taking and fear of failure can be quite limiting. Acting is a daily exercise in becoming fearless once more. Isn't it great, Patricia, that acting provides the sandbox for that fearlessness? I mean, because you kind of have to throw it all away at some point. You just have to trust that the work is done. You have to trust the prep, and you have to trust your team, and you have to trust the process and trust the muse. And so much of that is being in a fearless place. I love that you're kind of recovering some of the fearlessness of your youth, because when we're younger is when we don't yet have all the layered protections on that I don't think are actually that helpful in protecting us, really. Janet says at Facebook, I think I'm so used to striving, wanting, dreaming, feeling it's out of reach, impossible, hard to change, that it's hard to change, that it's possible, that it's there, that it can be there, that it is there. So Janet, the work for you is to find role models that show you it is possible, because there are people who have also struggled for a long time and made it. And I'm not talking about super high-end, high-tier, upper celeb level stuff. I'm talking pace car role models. Really take a look at people who have made it past a certain ceiling, a certain tier in this business, that you can, just like I made my list of sober role models, that I was able to look at these people and say, they still have fun. They're still cool people. They haven't lost their awesome just because they no longer add alcohol to the mix. Cool. I don't have to become a librarian. That's nice. I don't have to become a virgin. Cool. All those things that allow you to know, wait, it is possible because I see it in somebody else, might be where you have to begin the work. And so this is a little bit like the craft work of outside in versus inside out. And so for some of us, we're all about inside out. I decide that I'm in character. I get in character. I've read the material. I understand what I need to do. I put on the character, and here I go. For others, they don't get into character until they put on an accent or a hat or the costume or the makeup, or they're in the environment and the set is there, and that really creates outside in for the truth of the character. There's no right way, and the best actors use both, a little bit of each depending on where and when they are in the process. I recommend, especially for this question, Janet, that you go into this endeavor looking for some outside evidence rather than trying to fortify from within your own enoughness that it's possible, because it sounds like you're already in a place of like, nope, I don't believe it can be done. Great. Go find anybody else who has ever made it true and start stacking up evidence outside, and then start bringing that inward. So this becomes an outside in for you. Linda, yeah, you have to be safe to fail. Right on. Right on. Becky says, checking in with the hubby so much he's getting annoyed in a good way. Yes, I know. When people are doing the work with us here in our 100-day program or expansive capacity or any of the other places where we're doing this kind of deeper work together, there are folks who are like, oh my God, my partner is like, what the hell are you doing? This is so much. And it's like, I know, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, we should do a partner course. Maybe that's something I need to examine, not for this year. I already have plenty on my plate for this year, but maybe next year or so. No, I'm going to be working on my book next year. I have a new book. But maybe I could do that. Maybe we need like a partner course of some sort. Jana says at Facebook, Earth sign here, 6 months, 3 shows theater, thought momentum was going, but nope, shifted gears, signed with agent, boom, jumping into pursuit of film and television. Bonnie, you helped me find my sassy. Jana, awesome. You are welcome. Absolutely my pleasure. And that is fabulous. I love it. Shifted those gears. Sometimes you got to. No, Rex, not a new self-management for actors book. We decided to keep in print the 4th edition. We actually just did the 5th printing of the 4th edition with no changes. So it's exactly the same as the 4th printing of the 4th edition. So if you open your front cover of Self-Management for Actors, and inside that list of the Library of Congress page is what that's called, or what is it actually called? It's the Library of Congress Catalog and Publication page, CIP. It's the SIP page. The Catalog and Publication page has all the Library of Congress information and all that cool stuff. In it'll say 4th edition, and then it'll either say nothing after that, which means it's the first printing, or it'll say 2nd printing or 4th printing. We didn't print 3rd printing saying 3rd printing because it was identical to the 2nd printing, and same with the 5th. So the 5th printing is going to say 4th printing even though it's the 5th printing. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Not important. The new book is not a self-management for actors book, because we're going to let this 4th edition continue on because there are a couple little changes that I would want to make if I dug in on self-management for actors right now. But for the most part, we represent most of those changes with our SMFA hot sheets, the free PDFs that are over at the dojo. And obviously with doing things like this, I can talk about the changes in our industry and our free quarterly calls. And, so there's lots of ways to cover anything that's changed since the last printing of the book. No, this is going to be a non-industry book ish, technically. Yeah. I mean, you can be in the industry and buy this book, but it is not an acting book. It's not an acting business book. It's not a showbiz business book. Technically, I know. And I'm terrified, but I'm like, every day I want to work on it. It's like all I want to do. All I want to do every day. So I'm like, so I gotta get some, it's a great time for Mercury retrograde energy. I gotta get some things in order in our business so that I can go head down on this work, because there's a lot coming up for the rest of 3rd and into 4th quarter 2019. What do y'all have planned? What's up? Last roundup of, okay, good. Thanks, Rex. I appreciate the support. You will hear. Yes, I am good about emailing my process. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. We're going to see how it feels stepping outside my comfort zone. Aurora, hello, darling. Having massive Mercury in retrograde month. Letting go of the idea of who I thought I would be in my career. Letting go of my ideas of success so that I can enjoy what's happening. I love hearing that, Aurora. And in fact, that was actually something, hang on, I'm looking at my Aligned Hustle calendar, because in fact, for now-ish, yeah, part of the work of like last week into this week while we were transitioning then from Cancer into Leo season was about releasing the assumptions. And so if you're kind of redefining who you are in your career, that's perfect timing for that. I love that. That's really good. And where are we right now? We have an Aries moon in Leo sun. Ooh, right on. Take a look, Aurora, specifically at how you start feeling into the weekend, because Venus goes into Leo, and that's going to help us be even more expressive in ways of ego, but also love. And I would love to see how that reflects along with some of this letting go of how you feel that, or how you felt that you should be seen in your career. Linda wants to know, can you talk a little bit more about Mercury retrograde? What is left as far as the rest of the week? Okay, yes. And in fact, I see that you just commented again. You're doing it now. I kind of am. Yeah, sure. Where are we? So Venus goes into Leo over the weekend. That's going to just help us be all way more expressive and romantic. Enjoy it. It's going to be fun. And then we're going to be moving into more domestic issues as we get into next week and finish up Mercury retrograde with the new moon in Leo, which is a great time for setting intentions. If you don't already have a new moon ritual, start one. On the 31st of July, do a new moon ritual. You don't have to get candles or crystals or anything woo-woo like that. Like, seriously, just grab a pen and a piece of paper and write down some intentions, because it is a Leo new moon. And what that means is you can set intentions that are brave and bold and perhaps a little outside your comfort zone in terms of ego. It is a wonderful time to get very clear on who you want to be and how you want to be seen in the world, and set those intentions on July 31st. So do that. And then we go more into the Leo moon as we get into August, and start August 1st with a very good risk-taking day. And then we transition into Virgo moon, which is all about the details. But by then, Mercury retrograde over, which means communication is going to clean up. We will be able to understand each other a whole lot better. Tech will run a whole lot smoother. Thank you, baby Jesus. All that good stuff. And then what else do you need to be on the lookout for August? Looking at my, if you want your copy of my calendar, this is the draft that I wrote corrections on, so I'm not going to give you this one with all the X's on it, but I have this available at our online store. So Erin will pop a link over. Erin has already plopped a link in the comments at Facebook because she's a goddess. Linda, did I know your birthday was August 5th? I'll make a note of that. I may have already known that. Happy birthday early. Happy birthday early. So back into August, Mercury goes into Leo on the 11th, which is a great time to, again, amp up that bragging. If there's anything you've got to promote, man, August is a good time to do it. But August 11th in particular, things just go whoosh. But also Uranus goes retrograde on the 11th for the rest of the year. And this is when we are more autonomous, and our intuitive gifts are more on than ever. So how about that? I'm happy with all of that. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in the woo as we go into August. And then we move into Mars in Virgo, Venus in Virgo. We get all sorts of detail-oriented and acts of service when it comes to our relationships. And then the sun goes into Virgo on the 23rd of August, so it's just like a Virgo party up in here. And then Mercury goes into Virgo on the 29th. Oh my God, all those planets in Virgo. The only thing I can say about the end of August, don't be hard on yourself. Virgos are really great at being very self-critical. So keep that in mind for the end of August. But we'll talk before then, so we can have a more woo-woo conversation, and y'all can, of course, always ask these questions, even if we're getting together to talk about headshots. I don't mind. I love talking about the woo. There was someone in one of my entrepreneur groups yesterday who posted a chart of her business, and she said, has anybody ever run your chart for your business? And I was like, I don't choose a phone number without doing the numerology first. So I was like, yeah, look at the woo coming into my little entrepreneur group. It makes me so happy. Does astrology have an answer to the problem of our new prime minister in the UK? Bernard, there is someone I follow on Instagram that you might want to check out. I just reposted one of her things in my stories today. Her name's Sass, S-S, it's like S-A-E-S. I don't know for sure how to pronounce her name, and maybe you do. But go into my Instagram stories and find Sass Patrick. I think you would love following her because she's got a lot to say on that in particular. She's based in, I don't want to say London because it may be somewhere outside of London, but she's UK based. She's in England. Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in politics that the Astro is all about it. You remember back at the beginning of the year when we talked about all the stuff that's going on with Jupiter being the Emperor's new clothes situation. We have one more, I think, turn of Jupiter doing its thing to reveal more scandals and people who are inauthentic being called out for their inauthenticity and all of their deception being revealed. It's an interesting year. It's a great time to be authentic, because if you're already authentic, great. See me. I'm easy. But if you're someone who like benefits from people not understanding you fully, get ready. They're about to get you in ways that may scare the bejesus out of you. Cool. All right. Thank you, beautiful people. This was fun. I always love chatting with y'all and sharing everything that we talk about. It's always just such a party. I love it. Replay will remain up at YouTube and Facebook, but comments remain open only on Facebook. I will do a pass by there and continue to answer any questions that get popped in the comments for a replay. If you are watching on replay, give me a hashtag replay so that I can give you a thank you for coming back around and giving us a watch. I do appreciate you always, and I hope you'll stay in touch. Come on into the Facebook group for Self-Management for Actors. Jam with us there. And, of course, if you need more goodies, head over to BonnieGillespie.com. Love you, beautiful people. Mwah. Yes, Patricia, August 2nd. August 2nd, 1:30 Pacific. Put it on your calendar. I will be doing a Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Periscope Live, August 2nd. But you can also always go to BonnieGillespie.com/events. I have my full schedule there, always. Mwah. Love you, beautiful people. Stay ninja. Bye.